Hello, my name is Camelia Valdez, and I have the privilege of serving as the Passaic County Prosecutor. The Passaic County Prosecutor's Office is the chief law enforcement agency within the County of Passaic. The purpose of this video is to be able to walk you, members of the public, through the process of interacting with our office, should you ever have the occasion to do so. Specifically, we'll be discussing the role of the Office of Victim Witness Advocacy located within the Prosecutor's Office. The Office of Victim Witness Advocacy is charged with assisting witnesses and victims of crime through the criminal justice process.
The Passaic County Prosecutor's Office has two locations, one in Patterson and one in Totowa. The Patterson office is located within the Administrative Building Complex at 401 Grand Street on the 6th and 7th floors, with the reception desk located on the 7th floor. Family Court is located on the 8th and 9th floors of the complex. The County Administration Building is connected to the Passaic County Superior Court, which is located at 77 Hamilton Street. There is an interior walkway on the 3rd floor of the Administration Building that connects to the 2nd floor of the Superior Court. The Superior Court, also referred to as the new courthouse, is where the criminal courtrooms, the Criminal Division Manager's office, and pretrial services are located. The Totowa office is located at 30 King Road and primarily houses the investigative units of the Passaic County Prosecutor's Office. The Child Advocacy Center is also housed at this location. The New Jersey Criminal Justice Reform Act took effect January 1, 2017, essentially eliminating monetary bail in the state. With this act, New Jersey shifted from a system that relied principally upon setting a cash or bond amount as a condition of release to a risk-based system that is more objective. This new system determines whether the defendant poses a risk of failure to appear in court, poses a danger to the community, or poses a risk of obstructing justice by committing a new offense. If a judge determines that one or more of these factors has been proven, the judge can detain the defendant in the county jail until the case has been resolved. Alternatively, a judge could find that a defendant can be released and follow certain conditions, such as no contact with a victim or a witness, pretrial reporting, and/or counseling.
We understand that victimization can negatively impact many areas of a person's life, and that participating in the criminal justice system can be confusing, overwhelming, and difficult to navigate. The Office of Victim Witness Advocacy is a unit of the Passaic County Prosecutor's Office. Advocates are here to assist and support victims and witnesses as they cope with the impact of the crime. They can also help minimize any negative impact or inconveniences associated with participating in the criminal justice system. An advocate is a trained professional who can provide advocacy, information, practical assistance, emotional support, and guidance to crime victims and their families throughout the criminal justice process. The prosecutor's office has a team of victim advocates available to help. Several of our advocates are bilingual, English-Spanish, and the language line is also available for victims who speak other languages, including using American Sign Language. The Office of Victim Witness Advocacy provides victims and witnesses with case status notification and general information. It is important that you keep our office updated about any change in address or phone number so we know how to reach you to keep you updated and informed. You will receive some early notification by phone, but we primarily use letters for all notifications. The letters are generated from an automated system to let you know about court dates and significant stages of the process. A newer option that is available to you is to receive electronic notification through our Victim Witness portal, which also has a mobile app. When you get your first letter, it will include instructions on using the portal or downloading the free app. Advocates can also explain this process to you. Typically, a victim's attendance at court proceedings is optional. However, you will be informed if you are required to attend any hearings. Advocates are available upon request to accompany you to hearings for emotional support and to help you better understand the process. As a victim, you have the right to be provided a secure waiting area during court proceedings. A victim waiting room is available in the prosecutor's office for your comfort, should you need to wait for an extended period of time to testify at a hearing or while waiting for the outcome of a trial. There are options to help you recover your crime-related financial loss. Your specific situation will determine which options may be available to you. We can help you figure out your options and walk you through the process. Some of these options are crime compensation, restitution, and insurance payments. Prior to case resolution, you have the right to give input to the prosecutor's office. It is important to point out that while your input is very important and always considered, the final decision about resolving a criminal case rests with the Passaic County Prosecutor's Office. Crime victims do not have the authority to drop criminal charges or make the final decision about how a case is resolved. You may, however, provide input through a victim impact statement, either written or in person at the time of sentencing. You may speak with an assistant prosecutor or an advocate to give input on how the crime has affected you. While victim advocates are not licensed counselors, they are available to help you locate counseling services. Advocates can also assist you in providing referrals to other agencies and services that can help. The rights mentioned here are actual legal rights that are afforded to New Jersey victims of crime. They are listed in the New Jersey Crime Victims Bill of Rights and are given further weight through our New Jersey constitutional amendment. These are just a few ways that the Passaic County Prosecutor's Office can help individuals when they have become a victim of a crime. Knowing your rights and what help is available to you can help make the process a little easier to understand. There are many resources available to you, and there are people here who are ready to help.
The Passaic County Prosecutor's Office takes cases of domestic violence very seriously. We realize that family violence can impact victims physically, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. It is our goal to provide you with an overview of what you might expect and with whom you might interact with when reporting an act of domestic violence.
Domestic violence is one of the 19 crimes committed by someone 18 years or older or an emancipated minor with whom you have a relationship. The types of relationship considered as domestic violence are current or former spouse, current or former household member, a person with whom the victim has a child in common, a person with whom the victim anticipates having a child in common, and a person with whom the victim has a current or former dating relationship. Domestic violence includes the following acts: homicide, assault, terroristic threats, kidnapping, criminal restraint, false imprisonment, sexual assault, criminal sexual contact, lewdness, criminal mischief, burglary, criminal trespass, harassment, stalking, robbery, contempt of a domestic violence order, cyber harassment, and any other crime involving risk of death or serious bodily injury. One of your first encounters after an act of domestic violence will most likely be your local police officer that responds to the incident or takes your report. In Passaic County, the local police department is the lead agency that investigates domestic violence crimes that occur in their town. A Passaic County Prosecutor's Office detective is also assigned to work with the assistant prosecutor to help prepare criminal cases. You may speak with a Passaic County Prosecutor's Office detective on the phone or when meeting with a prosecutor. A trained domestic violence response team or DVRT volunteer may be available to speak with you at the police department.
Domestic Violence Response Team, or DVRT, members are volunteers from the community. Each member is required to complete a 40 to 60-hour training provided by the Passaic County Women's Center and the local police department. The volunteers are supervised by the Passaic County Women's Center. During their training, the volunteers learn methods for dealing with domestic violence issues, sexual assault, neglect, and abuse of the elderly and disabled. They are available to meet with victims at the police department to provide emotional support and information about resources available in the community to help victims.
There is also a full-time victim witness advocate assigned to the Passaic County Prosecutor's Office Domestic Violence Unit. The advocate assigned to domestic violence is a trained professional who can provide information and assistance to domestic violence victims and their families throughout the criminal justice process. The Passaic County Women's Center also has advocates that assist domestic violence victims. These trained professionals work for Passaic County Women's Center, an agency located right outside the family court to assist with restraining orders.
A domestic violence restraining order is an order of protection issued by a family court judge to protect a victim of domestic violence from her abuser. The orders are preventative measures to protect victims from any future act of domestic violence. The orders provide for no contact with the victim and possibly other named relevant parties, such as a family member or roommate. The order also bars the abuser from going to the residence or workplace of the victim. After obtaining a temporary restraining order, or a TRO, there will be a hearing in the family court where a judge will decide whether to make the order permanent or issue a final restraining order, an FRO. This hearing is separate from any criminal charges that might be filed against the abuser. Crime victims, including victims of domestic violence, do not have the authority to drop criminal charges once they are filed. What this means is that if they choose to dismiss a restraining order, it will not result in the dismissal of the criminal charges.
When criminal charges are filed, the prosecutor's office, just the state, handles the case and you are considered a witness. An assistant prosecutor, an attorney employed by the prosecutor's office, is assigned to handle the case.
More serious crimes are heard in the Superior Court, located at 77 Hamilton Street in Paterson. These would include first, second, third, and fourth degree crimes, and include crimes such as aggravated assault, sexual offenses, physical or sexual abuse of a child, and homicide. It also includes attempts to commit these crimes. The municipal court, located in the town where the charges were filed, handles disorderly persons offenses, motor vehicle violations, and ordinance violations. Disorderly persons offenses include simple assault, harassment, and criminal mischief.
A crime victim may be eligible for a U visa. The U visa is set aside for victims of certain crime types who have suffered mental or physical abuse and are helpful to law enforcement or government officials in the investigation or prosecution of criminal activity. Passaic County Prosecutor's Office has an advocate available to assist domestic violence victims throughout the process of any criminal prosecution. This includes referring and linking victims to other resources within our community. Passaic County Women's Center is our lead domestic violence victim service agency that assists victims by maintaining a 24-hour hotline, offering counseling services, emergency temporary shelter, and assistance and information about the restraining order process. There are other agencies in the county such as Waffle House and Jewish Family Service that provide specific services to victims of domestic violence and their children. The Passaic County Prosecutor's Office advocate will work with victims on locating the services most appropriate to them.
Child abuse takes many forms. There is child physical abuse, child sexual abuse, child psychological abuse, and child neglect. The Passaic County Prosecutor's Office Special Victims Unit is responsible for investigating and prosecuting cases of child abuse using a multidisciplinary team approach that is centered in our Child Advocacy Center. Since reports of child abuse are often accompanied by fear, disbelief, uncertainty, and confusion, our staff is trained to ensure an informed and respectful response to the child and the child's family.
When a child makes an allegation of abuse, that allegation should be reported immediately to the Department of Child Protection and Permanency, or DCPMP, who in turn reports the allegation to the Special Victims Unit. If the allegation meets the investigative protocol of the Special Victims Unit, an investigation is opened. A Special Victims Unit detective and a Special Victims Unit assistant prosecutor, also known as AP, are assigned to the case. Once an investigation is opened, the victim and witnesses come to the Advocacy Center. Since most of the cases of child abuse are committed by a person known to the child, the witnesses are often family members or household members. A DCPMP caseworker may be assigned to the Advocacy Center if necessary. At the Advocacy Center, the child and the witnesses are greeted by a victim witness advocate, as well as the investigating detective and the DCPMP caseworker. If the child victim is under the age of 12, the child is interviewed by a specially trained child interview specialist who conducts a forensic interview. This is a structured interview that allows the child to describe what happened in a non-leading, non-suggestive manner. The interview is video recorded and monitored by the case detective and DCPMP caseworker. Following the forensic interview, the investigating detective and other detectives that may be assisting interview the other witnesses and/or family members that may be present. If the facts of the case warrant an immediate medical examination of the child, it is arranged to the sexual assault response team and is conducted by a forensic nurse who is specially trained in examining victims of sexual abuse or sexual assault. The victim witness advocate informs the child's family of services that may be immediately available and provides information about what to expect as the investigation continues. Following the interviews at the Advocacy Center, the DCP&P caseworker establishes a safety plan for the child and assists the child and family in arranging for medical and/or psychological evaluations and treatments through one of our partner agencies. When the investigation concludes, the detective consults with the assigned assistant prosecutor, and a determination is made whether to criminally charge the offender with an act of child abuse. If the allegation results in criminal charges being filed against the offender, the assigned assistant prosecutor is responsible for handling that case throughout each phase of the criminal justice process. If the case cannot be resolved through plea negotiations, the assistant prosecutor engages in a thorough preparation process with all of the witnesses, including the child, with the assistance of the Special Victims Unit detectives and victim witness advocates in order to prepare witnesses for the trial. The preparation process involves meeting with the witnesses on multiple occasions, showing the courtroom to the witnesses, and making sure the witnesses are aware of direct and cross-examination questions, as well as an overall education as to what to expect from the courtroom trial experience.
I created the Sexual Investigations Unit in January of 2016 to investigate and prosecute sexual offenses that are attempted or committed against adult victims and younger victims that are not handled by our special victims or domestic violence units. In addition to sexual offenses, the Sexual Investigations Unit investigates and prosecutes human trafficking cases, endangering the welfare of children, either of a sexual or non-sexual nature, child pornography cases, internet sex crimes, and violations of the conditions of community supervision for life committed by convicted sex offenders.
The SIU unit was created to provide vertical prosecution of these cases. This means that victims will interact with the same detectives and assistant prosecutors during the investigation and once the prosecution commences. The unit consists of a chief assistant prosecutor who oversees a staff of assistant prosecutors and detectives with extensive background and experience in the investigation of sexual assault cases. The investigations primarily begin in the local police department or at a college or university. All sexual assault investigations are reviewed by the SIU unit prior to criminal charges being filed. In November of 2018, Attorney General Gurbir Grewal implemented procedures and protocols for sexual assault response and referrals, also known as AG Directive 2018-5. The directive was implemented to strengthen law enforcement's response to sexual assault crimes, while also reinforcing the victim-centered approach that law enforcement takes in these cases. In addition, the Attorney General's office also issued the third edition of the Attorney General Standards for Providing Services to Victims of Sexual Assault. The standards, as it is commonly called, lists 14 protocols designed to most effectively assist sexual assault victims. The directive explains that a victim-centered approach includes ensuring the victim's safety is a top priority, respecting the integrity, choices, and autonomy of each victim, protecting the victim's privacy and confidential information, identifying and responding to the obstacles some victims may face when seeking help, and recognizing the importance of victim feedback in improving responses to sexual assault. The SIU unit consults with victims, if requested, during the investigative stage, as well as during plea negotiations once charges have been filed. If charges are declined, the SIU assistant prosecutor will explain to the victim why charges are not viable, in addition to ensuring that services are explained and made available. Sexual assault survivors may be able to request a Nichols Law Sexual Offense Restraining Order, or SORO, once criminal charges are filed. Survivors may also be able to request a Sexual Assault Survivor Protection Act Restraining Order, or SASPA, through the family court, regardless of whether charges are filed.
SART stands for Sexual Assault Response Team and consists of a forensic nurse examiner, a confidential sexual violence advocate, and a law enforcement officer. The SART provides a compassionate and coordinated response to victims of sexual assault. Victims may choose the SART team members to assist them in the investigation. In New Jersey, SART services are available to individuals 13 years of age and older who disclose an incident of sexual abuse within the 5-day period. If a victim fits the criteria and presents to a healthcare facility, a sexual violence service organization, or a law enforcement agency, the victim is informed about the availability of the specialized services of the SART. The victim can then make the decision to give the collection of specimens to law enforcement or to request that the prosecutor's office hold it for a minimum of 5 years, or they can decline a forensic medical exam. The victim may return at any time within the 5-day period of the assault to have an exam done. Regardless of the choices the victim makes, medication is offered for sexually transmitted disease and HIV prophylaxis and to prevent pregnancy. There will be no charge to the victim for the hospital visit and any services provided by the SART.
Homicide is the most serious crime that our office handles, and we appreciate the huge impact this type of tragedy has on families and communities. Losing a family member or close friend through an act of violence is a traumatic, incomprehensible experience from which many people struggle greatly to recover and move forward. Those who survive are victims also, because their world has changed forever. Immediate family members, victim survivors, or co-victims are also legally considered victims by the law in New Jersey, and as such are entitled to the same rights and services as the direct victim of a crime. These rights are outlined in the New Jersey Crime Victims Bill of Rights.
In Passaic County, the local police department is the lead agency that investigates fatalities that occur in their town. A Passaic County Prosecutor's Office detective is also assigned to work with the local PD on fatalities being investigated as possible homicides. If criminal charges are filed, an assistant prosecutor is the lawyer who will handle the criminal case. The prosecutor represents the state of New Jersey while representing the rights afforded to you as a crime victim or victim survivor. You will have the opportunity for a face-to-face meeting with an assistant prosecutor, and both the prosecutor and an advocate will be available to assist you and your family throughout the criminal prosecution. The defense attorney is the lawyer representing the person charged with the crime or crimes, who is called the defendant.
Advocates support homicide victims through the most shattering experience of their lives and assist them during the painful but necessary journey of healing and returning to a meaningful life. The advocate also provides direct assistance throughout the criminal prosecution. You may speak with the advocate on the phone or meet with them in person. The advocate can assist in explaining the criminal justice system and connect you to additional services such as financial compensation, possible relocation, and counseling. The Victims of Crime Compensation Office, also referred to as the VCCO, is one very important resource that may be able to assist with funeral expenses and other crime-related financial losses. In situations where survivors are being threatened, they may also be able to assist with relocation expenses. An advocate can help you apply for these potential benefits.
The medical examiner conducts an examination called an autopsy to determine and document the cause and manner of death. The length of time for any investigation can vary greatly depending on many factors, such as number of witnesses and amount of evidence. There are often sensitive details that cannot be released until certain points in the investigation in order to maintain the integrity of the investigation and protect future prosecution. As a victim survivor, you will be consulted prior to a plea, trial, or resolution of a criminal case. It is critically important to advise our office about any change of address or phone number so we can always reach you. Unfortunately, a lot of misinformation can be spread by word of mouth and social media. It is important that you provide any information you learn to law enforcement. You may always contact an advocate or detective at the prosecutor's office if you have any questions.
The Passaic County Prosecutor's Office is committed to assisting you through the difficult process of becoming involved with the criminal justice system, either as a victim or a witness, and we are here to support you in every way that we can.